call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Calhoun.
Here.
Dempsey.
Here.
Fournier.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
McGarity. Here. Rick.
Here.
York. Here.
Okay, we'll move to announcements, acknowledgements, communications, and reports. We have a few today. One, I would just like to acknowledge our brand new fire chief, Danny Reynolds. If you can stand for us and we can all clap. Please, absolutely.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Through the chair to the commission, my name is Dan Reynolds, and I'm the newly appointed fire chief here in Mount Clemens. First, I would like to say thank you to the mayor and the city manager for their confidence in my appointment to the position of fire chief. It is an honor and a privilege to have been chosen for a leadership position in a department that is as rich in history and tradition as this one. I'm sure you're aware of this, but you have a dedicated team of professional firefighters who have a demonstrated history of being effective in a crisis. The men on this fire department have saved a lot of lives in this community, and I'm certainly proud to work with them. To the commission, I understand that some of you are also new here, so welcome in your new role as well, and I look forward to working with you for many years. I am a team player. I think that teamwork makes the dream work. So my interest is not just the fire department, it's the whole of the community of Mount Clemens. And most importantly, to the citizens, I want you to understand that you have my word, that the fire department will strive to be effective, efficient, and economic. We're going to do the right thing, the right way, for the right reason. Thank you all, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you again and welcome. We're very excited to have you. Okay, we'll move on to 4A, the Governor's Proclamation for Water and Wastewater Professionals Workforce Week. And I will go ahead and read that proclamation. On behalf of the people of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, the Governor of Michigan, does hereby proclaim that December 11th through the 17th of 2023 as Water and Wastewater Professionals Workforce Week. Whereas water is one of our most valuable resources in Michigan and is necessary to sustain life, and whereas a clean and abundant supply of water is important for the protection of public health for the residents of Michigan, and whereas the drinking water and wastewater industry assists in creating jobs, attracting industry and investment, and providing safe recreational opportunities for Michigan residents, and whereas Michigan's certified drinking water and wastewater treatment workers focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities, and whereas the water and wastewater professionals' mission overall is to protect the public health, quality of life, and well-being of the people of Michigan. Now, therefore, Gretchen Whitmer, Governor of Michigan, does hereby proclaim December 11th through the 17th, 2023 as Water and Wastewater Professionals Workforce Week in Michigan, and it is signed by our Governor, Gretchen Whitmer. I would just like to take the opportunity to mention that our wastewater treatment plant is represented by Robert Picard, Mike Doggett, John Paul Jones, Deshaun O'Neill, Brett Liebetru, and Joseph Munzenhofer. I think I got that right. And then our water and sewer is represented by John Dobson, Thomas Delmati, Thomas Scott, Chris Mizinski, Jerry Pionk, Carlin Kirkendall, Brandon Kreiner. And our water filtration plant is represented by Scott Bacon, Adriana Fuchs, Thomas Stuckey, and Dave West. And of course, we would like to thank our department head of utilities, Leonard Bertrand. So thank you very much to all of those wonderful employees, and we recognize you next week. We'll move on to our proclamation honoring Mike Murray. Mike, do you want to join me at the microphone?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Whereas the city of Mount Clemens pays tribute to many individuals, organizations, and activities throughout the year, and whereas Mike Murray's connection to the city of Mount Clemens began when he was very young, as he grew up, graduated from high school, and started his law practice in this city. And whereas on January 5th, 2004, the Mount Clemens City Commission voted to select the law firm of Kramer and Murray PC as legal counsel for the city. And whereas Mike Murray, as a partner in the law firm of Kramer and Murray, has steadfastly dedicated 20 years of his legal career as attorney for the city of Mount Clemens. And whereas during the exceptionally tough financial times the city went through, Mike was there to ensure steps were taken to keep the city financially solvent, and over the years has taken part in all the major decisions facing the city, from contract negotiations to guiding the city commission, staff, and managers in the right direction, even when the options were not popular. And whereas Mike genuinely cared about the city, its staff, and residents during his career, and some would say that he has been more than just a city contractor. He has become a true friend to many of the people that he has worked with. And whereas Mike's legal service to the city is greatly appreciated, and his presence at the city commission meetings will be missed. And therefore, I, Laura Kropp, Mayor of the City of Mount Clemens, on behalf of the City Commission and all our citizens, do hereby thank Michael Murray for his support and dedication to the Mount Clemens City Commission, the city, and all of its residents, and wish him well during his retirement years. Dated December 4th, 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, does anyone else have any announcements, acknowledgements, communications, or reports that they would like to offer? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to adoption of the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments about the agenda? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
McGarity.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes.
All right, we'll move to public participation. This is the opportunity for the public to address the commission. All that we ask is that you come to the microphone, you give us your full name, your residential address, and you abide by our 3-minute rule. We will address those in person first, and then we will move to our Zoom meeting. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission at this time? Don't everybody run at once.
Denise Menzer, 1399 Kingsley, Mount Clemens. So some good things have happened in Lansing. Tomorrow,
Wait, I'm going to time you out. This is State Representative Denise Menzer. Go,
thanks,
go
thank
ahead.
you. Tomorrow, actually, I'm having the governor, Governor Whitmer, signing my two of my bills. One is on, believe it or not, grain and the storage of grain, but the other, which actually benefits part of Macomb County. But the other part of it is she is signing into law a bill that we put forward on personal property taxes. A couple years ago, when it was a Republican legislature, they changed the personal property tax exemptions for businesses from $80,000 to $180,000 and did not put in any kind of reimbursement for that $100,000 difference. So my bill addresses that. City Manager Shipman and I kind of went back and forth, and we believe that that'll bring about a $60,000 extra to the city of Mount Clemens. A small bit, but hopefully,
We'll take it.
we're going to be able to bring some more. There have been, I'm still working on a bill for flushable wipes with Candace Miller. That's going to make a huge difference in our infrastructure. I'm hoping that Lenny is going to, be really excited about that, just so we don't have a sinkhole like we did on 15 Mile. There are some other good things going on. I had a meeting in Lansing with Quentin Messer, the head of the MEDC. We were talking about the defense corridor and aerospace innovation and starting up a new facility. We're hoping that that comes to fruition shortly. That will benefit the city of Mount Clemens because, of course, that will benefit Selfridge Air Force Base. I was out at Selfridge just Saturday. We had just a really cool ceremony for the Airman of the Year Awards. And if you want to feel some pride in your country, go hang out at Selfridge for a couple hours. I mean, it was just amazing. These young men and women and their dedication and their hard work and the feats that they accomplished that we were told about during this, this ceremony, I was absolutely amazed. So good things are coming there. Which of course, again, will benefit the city of Mount Clemens because I don't know about you guys, but I see plenty of people in uniform in our bars and restaurants and sometimes in the shops. We were instrumental. It will probably be announced officially, but I'm going to tell you here today. We were able to get $26.3 million for a new center of mobility and sustainability innovation at Macomb Community College. The shovels will go in the ground hopefully in 2024 for that. It's going to be huge. It'll address not just the electric vehicle programs, but it'll address all kinds of other innovations and buildings. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for the update. Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission at this time? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then to administrative responses. I don't see anything. All right, we'll move to approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Support.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about said minutes? Okay, hearing none. Call the roll, please.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
McGarity.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
York. Yes. Calhoun.
Yes.
Okay, 9A, custody agreement. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the can't even speak tonight.
Custodian, it's okay, we'll get it for
Custodian,
you.
excuse me. Was all shook up about the approval of the agreement with Huntington Bank as presented.
Support.
Couldn't get it out.
Did we get that?
I think so, I
Okay.
hope. Did you get it out?
Yep, I think I
Okay.
did.
All right, I'll hand it over to Mr. Shipman.
Currently, all city investments are in short-term options, and Robinson Capital has served as a portfolio manager for most of these investments. Robinson Capital has recently recommended a diversified portfolio to include some long-term investment options for a portion of our funds. These long-term investments would be primarily in U.S. agency and treasury bonds with some Michigan municipal bonds and CDs, all depending on supply and the return they are offering at the time we invest. In order for Robinson Capital to act as the portfolio manager for the city's long-term investments, it is necessary to have a third-party custodian for those investments. This is a requirement of the Securities Exchange Commission. In a custody agreement, a custodian is named to ensure the investor's assets are indeed being invested as the portfolio manager reports it. They are another layer of security and safety as they protect the assets and assume a level of responsibility for them. The city will have the opportunity to compare the monthly statements from both Robinson and the custodian to ensure they match. Attached is a custody agreement with Huntington Bank to provide these services. They are the preferred choice due to their exemplary reputation and their low fees. Note the agreement has been reviewed by the city attorney.
Okay, who has questions or comments? All right,
I would assume long-term investments at current rates is a good thing, so, and Huntington is in Mount Clemens, so that's a good thing.
I agree. I was shocked to hear that we weren't in long-term investments, so I'm
Well,
glad to see we are
given
now.
the previous environment, I can understand it, but,
this same agreement was Linda Kunith. When we went with Robinson, the same agreement was discussed and went over, made changes to in 2019 with Huntington. And then it never got executed. She left and went on to another community. And I also believe that was about the time that this commission got upset with Huntington Bank and indicated they didn't want to do any business with Huntington Bank. So.
Have to hear that story.
All right.
Yes. I was actually just going to ask, how many other banks did we look at for their fees and reputation?
I didn't look at that. They charge 1 basis point, which is 1/100%. So basically, if our portfolio is $10 million, we pay them $1,000 annually.
Did we look at other banks?
I did not know. This was the one that was actually recommended by Robinson and as well as Plant Moran. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
McGarity.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor.
Yes.
Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Okay, we move on to agenda item 9B, DWSRF resolution.
Move to approve the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Notice of Intent Resolution as presented and authorize city officials to post the resolution in accordance with the Revenue Bond Act.
Support.
Okay, Mr. Shipman.
Mount Clemens was awarded a Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan in the amount of $42,050,000, which will be paid out of a combination of federal grant funds and loan funding evidenced by the bonds, a portion of which will be subject to principal forgiveness. The exact amounts will not be determined until project bids are due and the project costs and financing details are finalized. The next step in the financing process is for the city to adopt and post a notice of intent resolution indicating the city's intent to issue water supply system revenue bonds to pay for the cost to acquire, construct, furnish, and equip improvements to the water supply system of the city, including constructing connections to the Great Lakes Water Authority. Attached for your review is the DWSRF resolution, which authorizes the publication of a notice of intent relating to the city's bonds to be issued through the DWSRF. The not-to-exceed amounts in each resolution are based on the estimated respective project amounts submitted in the application last year, plus a contingency buffer. The actual size of the bond issue or loan amount will be resized at the time of issuance to the amount that is required based on the actual bids and final costs. Even though each not-to-exceed amount exceeds the approved funding amount, the capacity under each notice of intent could be applied to future bond issuances for the described projects, either through the Michigan Finance Authority or commercial finance sources. With us tonight, we have bond counsel through Miller Canfield. Jeff Aronoff is under the weather, so he couldn't be here this evening. But we have Pat McGow and Emily Barr, and then also from Benzinski and Company, our financial advisor, we have Stefan Hayduck. So I think they were going to get up and give the commission a little walkthrough on how this bond initiative relates to an SRF, kind of compared to a normal bond initiative that you might be more used to.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm Pat McGow from Miller Canfield, subbing in for Jeff Aronoff. This is Stephen Hayduck. I'm the bond lawyer. He's the financial advisor. So just for a little bit of background, because I know we have some new commissioners tonight, the commission started this process last year in the spring when you held a public hearing to approve for funding through the state revolving funds, and then the city filed applications, one for the water program, one for the sewer. These are very competitive programs that are essentially funded by federal dollars as well as state dollars. That is an opportunity for local units of government to pay for water and sewer improvements. It was incredibly competitive this year because there were a lot of grant funds involved, and less than a third of the communities that applied actually received funding. So the good news is that the city of Mount Clemens qualified for funding for both the water and the sewer. So the first item here is the water project. So back in the spring, you applied for the funding. The state approved what they call the project priority list, and the city's application was approved for the $42 million project. They awarded approximately 50% grant and loan forgiveness to this. So that means of that $42 million, the city's only going to have to pay back approximately $21 million. And the state runs this as a subsidized loan program using the federal dollars so that the interest rate is at a low rate of 2%, and you can have a 20-year, 30-year, or 40-year repayment. So it's really at a substantially lower cost of financing than you would get if you did a traditional bond issue. The reason we call this bonds, though, even though it's called a loan through the state, is you still have to go through the same steps to issue a bond and secure it with the user charges of your water system as you would if you were selling the bond in the bond market. So we're not selling the bond in the bond market. We know that the state is going to buy this, and the interest rate is going to be 2% based upon whatever that maturity schedule is. So, but we still have to go through the same steps we would for a bond issue. And the first action item in a financing like this is the action item before you tonight, which is to adopt a notice of intent resolution. So revenue bonds are bonds that are issued to pay for the infrastructure for that system, in this case your water system. And they're essentially paid from your user charges. You are allowed to issue the bonds without a vote of the people, but part of the process is what you're doing tonight, which is to authorize a notice of intent to advise the public that the city intends to issue the revenue bonds in a maximum amount of $45 million, payable in up to 40 years, and that it will be paid from the revenues of the water system. So again, those bonds can be issued without a vote of the people unless a referendum petition is signed by 10% of the registered voters within 45 days of publishing the notice. So this is a very common technique in a lot of different bond financings. This is sort of the first preliminary step to advise the public of the financing, and then over the next several months, the project will be designed, it'll be bid, you'll know what the actual construction costs are, and then we would come back to the city to adopt an ordinance to authorize the issuance of the bonds. The way the state runs this program is they base it on the actual bids received. So at the end of the day, we have here a not to exceed $45 million. We don't know what the cost is today. We won't until it's actually bid. The application was for approximately $42 million, but as you might imagine, there's been a lot of variation in project costs over the last several years. So that's why there's a little bump up to $45 million versus the project amount. The reality, though, is that after they apply the ARPA grant, the amount of the actual bond is going to be somewhere in the $20 million range, and that's what you will pay back over that time period. So this will come back to you at a later date after the bids are received or around the time of construction bids, and then at that time, the commission would be asked to approve a bond ordinance and go through the remaining steps. So this is really kind of to kick off part one of the financing for the water project, and then that'll allow the engineers to move forward with the design, bidding, and then we would come back for the authorization. I believe the second or fourth quarter.
One is the quarter 2.5.
CWSRF.
Yep, and then the DWSRF is quarter 4.
Yeah, so that's on the state program. So quarter 4 means that the bidding for this water project would be sometime May or June. The bids would be available late June, July, and then the financing documents would be come back to you for approval in that summertime period with a closing on the water financing at the end of August. So basically the next 6 months is design bidding, and then the financing kind of picks up again in June, July, August. So that's the basics on the water project. Stephen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think Pat here did a pretty good job covering all the bases. If anyone has any questions about the financing or numbers in general or the process, I'm more than willing to answer any questions you may have.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What determines the payback period? You said up to 40 years?
Well, we will look at, and we'll discuss with City Manager Shipman and the Finance Director and determine kind of what makes sense looking at the revenues and expenses of the system and what that debt service looks like each year and what makes sense for a payback period.
Ultimately, the city will get to decide that.
Okay, thank you.
And the rate, as Pat said, is 2% regardless of the term with this
Which
program.
is great in this environment, yes.
I had one question about, I mean, I know it mentions kind of briefly loan forgiveness, but it doesn't really define that in this document of, and it just keeps, I feel like we're on the hook for 45 million with this. So
Yeah.
it's a little deceiving to the public, it seems like, if this is a notice of intent, but we're not really intending on 45 million. And I mean,
Well, so we put that in there, there's a couple different terms that the state uses. Grant funds, which this qualified for, means that they're going to give you the money and you don't have any agreement to repay it. When they use the term principal forgiveness, it's a weird way of saying that you actually approve a higher amount, and then after you draw the funds, they forgive part of the principal. And you say, well, why don't they just call it a grant? That's a great question.
Yeah.
This is the federal government. And the answer is that if they called it a grant, there's 5 other sets of rules they have to go along with. So this is pretty common with the water and sewer projects. And so the amount that is going to be on the loan is going to be larger.
So what I have based on my notes, the loan is from the program for $21,700,000. There's an ARPA grant of $7.1 million that would come off the top of that, and then loan forgiveness, which would be included in the number, but you don't actually pay it back, of $12.5 million.
And so you say, well, this is confusing, and it is. The numbers don't add up,
which is
which
the
they
federal
don't.
government.
And so what I say to you is that when this comes back to you to authorize the bonds, we'll know what the total project is. And then when we sign the actual financing documents, those details as the exact dollar amount of the grant and the forgiveness will be determined. Because right now it's based upon this application number, which isn't the real number. So all that will be finalized, and that will come back to the city to sign before it gets written in stone.
And I apologize if Pat already said this, but this doesn't authorize the issuance of any bonds. It's just the first step. The ordinance is with us.
And the principal forgiveness is not based on a percentage of what we, right, of what we actually bond out or borrow, right? It's a hard number, right? What those ones?
I believe it's a percentage.
It's listed as 48% of grant and forgiveness. They tend to juggle those numbers when they get later in the program.
Okay.
I will say that what has happened in recent years is they will stick to those numbers unless it goes over, and then you might not get that full forgiveness. So if the project came in substantially above the 42 million, you're going to get the amount of grant and loan forgiveness that was in the preliminary numbers, but if it came in at 48, you might still just have that smaller one. So it's going to depend on what the actual final numbers are and then where they're at with the funding. But they've committed to essentially that amount of ARPA grant and forgiveness based upon the estimated number.
I was just thinking if we come in at 36 million,
Then it would still be roughly 48%.
right, it would be 48, it wouldn't be 20 million. It would be 48%, right? It wouldn't, they're not
If it's a
going to.
percentage.
It's
Right.
a percent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so-
way the initial application, it's at a percentage, unless
Okay.
it comes in over and you might not then get it for the excess.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And all those numbers will be available before the city signs. And if it turns out that things fall through, this does not obligate you to proceed. This is really the first step.
Okay.
And then when we come back in the summer to authorize the bonds, then you're kind of approving it going forward, but it still requires the numbers and all the signatures in moving forward. So
Okay.
this is really kind of the first
Yeah.
step of a multi-step process in the financing.
Wonderful, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate that. Call the roll, please.
Crop.
Yes.
McGarity.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes. Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move to 9C, CWSRF, Notice of Intent.
Move to approve the CWSRF Notice of Intent Resolution as presented and authorize city officials to post the resolution in accordance with the Revenue Bond Act.
Support?
Okay, Mr. Shipman.
Mount Clemens was awarded a Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan in the amount of $6,220,000, which will be paid out of loan funding evidenced by the bonds. There are no grant funds or principal forgiveness available for the CWSRF projects. The exact amounts of the bonds will not be determined until project bids are due and the project costs and financing details are finalized. The next step in the financing process is for the city to adopt and post a notice of intent resolution indicating the city's intent to issue sewage disposal system revenue bonds to pay the cost to acquire, construct, furnish, and equip improvements to the sewage disposal system of the city, including replacement of a sludge handling facility and sewer rehabilitation. I won't read the second paragraph because it's exactly the same as the last one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for sparing us. We appreciate it. Okay. Well, I mean, do we want to, well,
Let me
yeah.
just, what is different? This is simpler because there is no principal forgiveness, there are no grants. So whatever the number is will be repaid as a loan. I will say that on the water project, I mentioned this was a really competitive program. The city of Mount Clemens was among, I think, the top 10 on the water list, which is kind of at the top of the first page. And only the first page and a half of communities got funding. On this one, you guys were the last community on the funding list. Now, they did go into the second page. So that's one of the reasons why there's no grant or forgiveness, is that you were further on the priority list and there weren't as many funds for this. But you still get the program rate of 2% for the 20, 30, or 40 years. So, and again, the not-to-exceed number here is 8 million, even though the estimate was 6.2, because we wanted to build in about a 20% buffer just in case bids come in higher than anticipated. And like the water project, you'll get a second look at this. This is coming up sooner, though. This is in the quarter 2.5, which means that the bidding will be in early 24, with the closing is in March-ish. So this one's on a more accelerated timetable than the water project.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions or comments?
You said this one, excuse me, you said this one was 2% or 2.5?
Oh, no, 2%.
This one is also 2%.
Oh,
2.5
Yes.
is the quarter that they need to have the paperwork done. Instead of like, the last one was fourth quarter, this is
Right.
the 2.5 quarter.
got it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they used to have 4 a year, but there were so many the last couple of years, they now do, 7 or 8 a year. So that's why the quarter 2.5.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Call the roll, please.
McGarity.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes. Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes. Okay, moving to, thank you, by the way, we appreciate it. We'll move on to consent agenda, agenda item 10, appointments to boards and commissions. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Support.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes. Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Don't let him off the hook.
Did you call my name?
Fournier.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
McGarity.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on. Thank you, Commissioner Rick, for, You're welcome.
I think we should have read that one. you know.
right? We'll move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Shipman.
The Administrative Hearings Bureau continues to be active with 24 cases on the November 29th docket. The docket is now being posted on the city website on the Code Enforcement and Administrative Hearings Bureau tab. The actual docket the day of the hearing may be shorter if properties are brought into compliance after the docket is posted. Curbside compost pickup season is scheduled to end on Friday, December 8th, 2023. Compost pickup will resume the first week of April 2024. Winter tax bills are now available for payment through February 29th, 2024. After February 29th, all payments must be remitted to the Macomb County Treasurer's Office. Over in Recreation, Mount Clemens Parks and Recreation Department is currently gearing up for winter classes. Winter class registration starts December 1st. Further information is available at mountclemensrecreation.org or call us at 586-469-6800, extension 520. Information is also available on our Mount Clemens Park and Recreation Facebook page and our Instagram account. Last call for Local Treasure Award. The purpose of the Mount Clemens Local Treasure Award is to provide recognition to the men and women of our city who have made our city a better place to live through exemplary positive contributions. The nominee must be a resident or business owner of the city of Mount Clemens. Forms are available on the city's website and the city manager's office. The nomination deadline is December 15, 2023. Upcoming events. 'Tis the season to shop local. Holiday parking is free after 3 p.m. from November 17th through January 2nd. And parking is always free on Saturday and Sundays and weekdays after 6 p.m. Downtown Decorating Contest, November 17th through December 22nd. Choose your favorite decorated downtown business. Fill out your ballot and place it in the ballot box in any participating business. The winner will be announced on New Year's Eve before the fireworks, and you could win $100 just for voting. And lastly, the Mount Clemens Light Parade will be Saturday, December 9th. It will be on Macomb Place, in fact, a lot more areas this year. For more information or to sign up for the event, please visit our webpage at downtownmountclemens.org.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Shipman? Okay, thank you for your report. And we'll move to, this is the second opportunity for public participation. We ask that you, again, come to the microphone, give us your full name, your residential address, and you abide by our 2-minute rule.
We'll see if I can do this in 2 minutes. I just wanted to announce that at our beautiful, lovely, innovative Mount Clemens Public Library on Thursday, I am hosting Dana Nessel, who is putting on a presentation on senior scams. So if you want any information on scams, how to prevent them, and there'll be some other tables there. I think My Care is going to be there. The governor's going to have a table there with some of her staff. So you'll be able to get some questions answered and get some great information on how to protect yourself. All right, thanks.
What time again was it? I'm sorry.
10:30 a.m.
Okay,
At
great.
the beautiful Mount Clemens Public Library.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address the commission? Anyone on Zoom, Darren? All right. Okay, we'll move on to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Yore.
Nothing from me tonight.
All right, thank you. Commissioner McGarity.
Thank you. I'll be quick. On December the 9th, from 2 to 4 p.m., the Sevens Committee is hosting their annual coat drive at Cairns Community Center. They said they're all set with the donations for the coats. If you do want to donate, they can take some hats and gloves at this time, but they're set and excited to go. Also on December 9th at Cairns at 3 o'clock, Malia Howard is the facilitator and the leader. It's called Tween. It's a mentoring informational program for our teenagers. And so that's going to be going on at Cairns Center in Mount Clemens. And last, our bathers, boys basketball plays tomorrow. 5 o'clock is the JV and 7 p.m. is the varsity versus Clintondale. Thank you.
Oh, great, thank you. Commissioner Fournier.
I just want to say thank you to a few people. One is the head of our wastewater plant and our sewage plant, Lenny, in this Water and Wastewater Professionals Workforce Week. So thank you, Lenny. And the other is I need to just thank Eric Rick for stepping up and going on the retirement board, which is why we were all smiling, because as you know, if you listen to any of our commission meetings, he's always encouraging everyone that there are openings on boards and commissions, and we should all get on them. So congratulations for putting your
He's walking the walk.
Do it, yeah. You're walking. Yeah, there you go. That, and then thank you to Mike Murray for many years of service. Yes. We do appreciate it, and we will miss you. So best of luck to you in retirement.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rick.
First, I'd like to welcome Fire Chief Reynolds. You've got a good team there. I think you'll have a good time. I'd also like to specifically thank the water and wastewater team and Lenny. You guys do amazing things with stuff that shouldn't still be running, but you make it work. And not all the residents even notice, but for those of us that do, we do appreciate it. Thank you. I'd like to thank Glenn Voorhees for stepping up to serve on the retirement board, and I hope he enjoyed his 2 weeks of time off of government service. I'd like to thank Representative Menser for continuing to push for more resources for the area. It is amazing to see all the things you've been able to bring so far. I'd like to say to the public, please continue to express your concerns to us here however you can. The best option is, of course, to come here and speak, either at the meeting in person or via Zoom. But whatever you got to do, send us an email, give us a call, send a carrier pigeon, whatever. Let us know.
I really don't like birds.
Okay, don't send her a pigeon. But let us know what the problems you're seeing are so we can try and address them. We don't have eyes everywhere, and you're going to notice things we don't. So please continue to help us to make this city better. And lastly, I would like to thank Mike for his decades of service to the city. I hope you enjoy your well-earned retirement, but thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Calhoun?
Well, I want to start by welcoming our new fire chief, just like everyone else has. We're excited to work with you and excited for the future of our department. And congratulations on your retirement, Mr. Murray. Hopefully you'll find some time to do some things you enjoy. And so I also want to just briefly speak about DTE Energy. They just were approved for a rate increase that will add about $6.51 to the average household electric bill in our community. They've made record profits year after year, including $1 billion of profit in 2022. But there has been a need for infrastructure updates, as we've seen, as the power's been going out more often and it's been staying off for longer. So I'm looking forward to working with DTE to see what specific upgrades they'll provide for us here in the community, since we'll all be paying more across, all the customers will be paying more, but it would be nice to know what specific things they're going to do for us here, so we'll have a chance to speak up about that and let them know our thoughts on it. So those are my comments, and thank you all.
We have a very interesting project in downtown involving expensive lines to bury that would be a really nice addition, so we'll happen to mention that to them. Thank you. Right, exactly. Thank you, Commissioner Calhoun. Commissioner Dempsey.
Well, welcome, Chief. Looking forward to working with you. And I also would like to thank Mike Murray for his 20 years of dedicated service to the city. I've worked with Mike for over 20 years. Boy, it really ages us, Mike. But anyway, I just want to thank you. I know I, for one, appreciated not always some of the, what can I say, some of the things that you did provide for us to guide us through some of the very difficult times we had. You did an excellent job, and I think the city doesn't, at least the residents really do not know how much dedication this man has put in for 20 years. And it's a well-deserved retirement, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will have a coffee talk on Tuesday, December 12th at John's Family Grill. This month, because of the holiday, I will not be hosting an evening coffee talk, so we'll continue those again in January for the new year. Of course, already mentioned, but just want to reiterate, we have a really great light parade that will happen in downtown on Saturday. We ask that people arrive before the 7 o'clock lineup time, or before the 7 o'clock start time. So we'd like everybody to be there by 6:30 with their cars decorated. We will have an opportunity to decorate in the lot starting at 5 o'clock with our beautification committee. Eric, thank you again for stepping up on the retirement board. As Eric always says, but I don't think said today, there's a lot of opportunity on our mountclemens.gov website. You can check out the list of available seats for the boards and commissions. I would like to first thank our former fire chief, who has stepped down and is now taking over the position of city manager, but you stepped into that position when there was a very long period of not having a fire chief, and you made sure that that role was well-defined, and then handed it over to a very capable person. And thank you very much for all of your service and work on that. And of course, welcome Danny Reynolds. We're very excited that you are here and a part of our team. I would like to thank Mike. When I stepped into this role 4 years ago, not knowing really anything about how to be the mayor, you were a phone call away, and I really appreciate that. And so I hope you enjoy your retirement, and don't forget to check out our boards and commissions page now that you'll have time. So thank you very much. I think that wraps it up, and if anyone has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Anybody have any questions or comments? All right, we'll, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.